killed Americans. They meet more than all the standards.
Gentleman's time has expired, and I'm going to recognize Mr. Smith for 5 minutes. Then we will recess for 10 minutes. We have 2 votes on the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last Friday, Mr. Secretary, I chaired my 4th congressional hearing within the year on UNRWA, the UN Relief Works Agency, and its decades-long complicity in the most vicious forms of anti-Semitic hate, with a focus on the so-called independent UN review by Ms. Catherine Colonna. I've read her report very carefully, and our witnesses, including the former General Counsel, James Lindsay. He was the General Counsel for UNRWA, and he admonished us in the strongest terms, do not give money to UNRWA. He used to be their guy. Now he's not. Hillel Neuer, who's the Executive Director of UN Watch, testified and said the Colonna review was not independent. The verdict was determined in advance. And he pointed out all of the conflicts of interest of the people, the players. It was very narrowly focused, too focused, just on October 7th. And even there, it whitewashed. About the only thing that came out of it that was any good was to say that UNRWA does not vet employees for connections or sympathies with Hamas or Islamic Jihad, quote, unquote. 21 years ago, in 2003, I offered an amendment to redirect the money away from UNRWA to other entities that could be vetted to ensure non-anti-Semitism. This year, my legislation, the Stop Support for UNRWA Act of 2024, was passed by this committee. It completely prohibits any U.S. contributions to UNRWA. It made clear, however, that nothing in the act may be construed to preclude the provision of humanitarian assistance through any agency or entity, as long as you certify, Mr. Secretary, that it doesn't promote, espouse, or affiliate with entities or individuals that promote violence or terrorism or anti-Semitism, and does not employ individuals who promote, espouse, or affiliated with such entities or individuals. Then, in March, the bipartisan foreign aid bill made it absolutely clear no funds for UNRWA. Both sides of the aisle, both House and Senate, and that's until March 25th, 2025. My question is, are U.S. taxpayer funds to UNRWA still paused? Secondly, that's the other funds that were already in the pipeline or may be coming in from other spigots. Secondly, can you assure the committee that the Biden administration's investigation will be in-depth, a top-to-bottom review? From the moment your administration announced it and when the UN announced it, they said they do such a narrow look, they're not going to see much. They'll know that 12 to 18 people committed atrocities, but unfortunately, UNRWA has been a child abuse factory, turning little wonderful kids who happen to be Palestinian into child soldiers by inculcating in them hatred towards Jews and to Jerusalem and to the Jewish state. So please, about your report, when's that coming? And hopefully it will be very comprehensive.
Thank you. Just a few things on this. First of all, we do support the implementation of the recommendations in the Colonna report. We think those are important and important to move forward with them. Second, there is a separate investigation that's going on. This is a UN internal report on the specific allegations, as you know, about the participation of UNRWA employees in the horrific events of October 7th. We await those results, and we will pull all of that together along with our own hard look at this. Second, we, of course, are abiding by the law in making sure that funds...
So no other funds are finding their way into...
No other funds can or should be
going to UNRWA. Is it planned in the near future?
Nope. Okay. And we'll abide by it. Now, I will tell you, we do have a difference in view because for all of the manifest problems and deficiencies with UNRWA, it's also been playing an absolutely critical and in many ways, at least in the near term, irreplaceable role in terms of being able to provide assistance for people who desperately need it. It has an infrastructure that no one else has. It has people that no one else has. So there needs to be a way to make sure, one way or another, that assistance gets to people who desperately need it. And so we can look at what can be done for the future. But in the near term, I've got to tell you, we still see that as essential. But no, we are not and will not provide the funding
Thank you for
pursuant
that.
to the law.
Let me ask you if I could on child abduction, international child abduction, and I've written a major law on it named after David Goldman. When the president of Japan was here, I gave him a letter asking him to get engaged. I would ask the administration, I would ask the president, you know, we all speak out on behalf, and he met with people, Japanese who have been abducted to North Korea, but the big concern is, what about our own children who have been abducted, 500 of them to Japan? And finally, the World Health Assembly is meeting. They're violating their own rules about procedure. Are you going to submit the WHO Pandemic Treaty, which is rife with problems, to the Senate for ratification?
Thank you. On child abduction, I'm, like you, seized with this. And for a long time, I applaud what you're doing and your leadership on this. And when we have countries that are not abiding by the Hague Convention or are otherwise engaging in practices that are keeping children away from their parents, this is something we take action on, and I always welcome working with you on that. Second, and very quickly, on the pandemic agreement, the way things stand right now, I don't see that coming to a conclusion in the near term. There's just not consensus on it. It's something we continue to work on, but continue to work on making sure that we uphold our own interests and values, including on, for example, intellectual property.